Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Chris. If you're new here, I'm really glad you're here, and if you're not new, I'm still really glad you're here. Today, I wanted to test my irrigation system, and I thought I would take you along and kind of describe how I've set it up for now, and then how it's going to change as well. Since I've added new planters, I've moved a few things, so there does have to be a few adjustments. I'll try to put a link to all the different parts of the system in the description below in case you're interested in checking them out. Here is my setup at the faucet. So I have a splitter here that has just a regular hose on one side and then my irrigation system on the other side. So this piece right here is a backflow regulator. This makes sure that when I turn on the system that the water doesn't stop here when the irrigation system is off and start pushing back up and into the pipe system, because that will cause leaking in here. This here is a filter just to make sure that if anything gets into the water, it's filtered out through here and doesn't end up clogging my irrigation lines. This is my timer. This is a 4-zone timer, so I can hook up 4 different lines to it and I can run it at different times. I have it set up like this using a timer with different zones because I have so much to water, and if I watered everything at the same time, it would pretty much deplete my water pressure. So I want them each to water at different times. I only have 3 set up right now. The 4th connector right here, I'm gonna save that and I'm gonna run it to my front yard. Since we have big plans for the front yard, and I know for a fact that I will always forget to water it, I want to set up an irrigation system up there so I don't lose all of the hard work that we're going to put into it. Zone 1 runs off over here to these beds. Both of these green stalks are connected to it. I have a 1/4 inch poly tubing that runs from the main line up into a soaker hose. Each level of the green stalk has a soaker hose that kind of runs through each of the pockets. Some of them are buried in here, so you can't really see them, but they're there. And when I turn on the system, it pushes water up through this poly tubing up into the first layer of soaker hose. And each layer of soaker hose, as you can see here, is connected with another 1/4 inch poly tubing, so all the way up the system. And I used this last year. This is how it was set up, and it worked really well. So water does get pushed all the way up to the top here to water the entire system. It's set up exactly the same way for this. You can see how each level is connected. So the poly tubing here, this is a 1/2 inch poly tubing, by the way. It runs all the way across this little walkway here along that gets you from the side of the house to the backyard and goes over to these 8x2 beds. And I have these set up with this little sprayer. I believe it's supposed to be a 90-degree sprayer. It's just held in with this little clip here. Last year this worked really well, and I had one on that side and it watered about half of the bed. Then I had another one over here on this side that watered the other half of the bed. The problem with this side, I cut this poly tubing way too short. I really like it on this corner. At first I had it over in that corner and then it was just fine. But last year I realized it worked a lot better when it was in this corner. It sprayed all of this and then it didn't kind of go off to water all this horrendous buttercup that is also going to get taken care of this year. And when it was in that corner, it would water the bed, but it also watered all the buttercup, which is not what I want. Then it runs into this 8x2 bed as well. And in this bed, I had these little, I don't know what they're called. They are basically circle waterers. They water in a circle, and you can twist it and it changes how far the water goes, so how far the circle is. And that worked, but in a different bed I actually had a different one that kind of came out, and I'll show you an example of this. I forgot to bring one over, but it kind of runs off and plants kind of in the middle of the bed and makes a bigger circle, and it waters more. And I think that will be a lot more efficient and use less water than running all of these every about 18 inches or so. Oh, here's one. So this is the circle one that I'm talking about. For this bed, last year I had some tomatoes in this bed. This year I'll probably put in some peppers. This little irrigation bit will create a circle that waters this whole thing. I just think that will be a whole lot more efficient. So that's what I'm going to switch this bed to. The one back there with the sprayers I think is going to be just fine. It worked really well last year, and I don't see any reason to change that. One more new thing for zone number 1. This bed right here used to be along the side of the house, but I moved it over here because I want to build a bigger raised bed, kind of like these, but 9 foot by 3 foot where this was. So I moved this over here and put in a zucchini and a crookneck squash. I have one of these circle waterers all ready to go. It's not hooked up yet, so I'll just take a 1/4 inch poly tubing. I'll run it back and connect it to that main line. So this bed will also be part of zone 1. Zone 2 runs off in the other direction over to my deck area. Zone 2 is basically going to take half of my deck and water it, and then zone 3 is the other half. So zone 2 is going to start with the 9 by 3 bed that I'm going to put right here. It's not built yet. All of its pieces are right there, so hopefully I'll get that built this week. It runs underneath my porch steps here. It's going to connect to this green stalk, this little 3-foot planter, and I have a soaker hose running through here. I've already weaved soaker hoses through each of these levels. I just haven't connected each level yet, so I need to do that. Same for here. I've run the soaker hose through each of the levels, but I haven't connected them yet. These are both new green stalks for this year, so I hadn't already had a setup for those yet. This one I'm still working on filling, but it is also going to be on zone 2. It already has the lines, and as I fill it, I'll go ahead and put each line into each tier. It's connected. If you see, here's the poly tubing, the 1/2 inch poly tubing main line. It's connected down here. It's kind of behind this 3.5 foot bed right here. So you can't see the connection, but it's connected to the line back there. Then I have this line that I ran up through this bed when I built it. And I'll probably just do a soaker hose that runs through here too. I think that will be easier. This green stalk is also new this year. I do not have the soaker hose weaved through here or have it connected, but that's one of my goals here for the next couple days. And then my main line ends right here into the bed with all of these potatoes. So last year I had a whole bunch of pots set up right here along the back of my deck. I had a sprayer set up connected to the irrigation line. I believe it was a 180-degree sprayer, so it basically sprayed in a half circle. And it watered all of the pots over here. Now, I'm not doing that this year. I really wanted to get away from all of the pots since it just felt like my deck was so crowded. I'll take that sprayer, which is kind of tucked underneath a cattle panel right now. I'll connect it over in this corner of this bed. Here's the line, but it's tucked underneath this cattle panel right now that's keeping my dogs out of the bed. Actually, I will probably take that, and instead of doing a 180-degree sprayer, I'll probably switch it out for a 90-degree. That way it's more targeted for this bed, and I don't water a whole bunch of stuff that I don't want to. I'm probably also gonna run a bit of a line up here to the celery, and then this is a grapevine. This is a Concord grape, and so I'll need to do something for that too. Ordinarily, I wouldn't really worry about setting up those 2 pots and then another pot over here in the corner that has the other celery in it. I wouldn't worry about connecting those to my irrigation system, but we are going to go out of town this summer for a wedding, and I don't want to lose those either while we're gone. So I really want to make sure that everything is set up so that we can leave and I don't have to worry that I'm going to come back to dead plants, because that is the worst. This is all going to be zone 2. Zone 3 is the other half of the deck. The other half consists of this green stalk, which is about half set up with soaker hose. This bit of garlic, oh, I forgot. I have this bit of garlic too for zone 1, but I think these will probably be harvested by the time we leave. We're not leaving until like August, so I think we'll be good. So I'm not going to hook up this, and I'm not going to hook up this, hoping that the garlic will be harvested and nothing else will be planted in those. This green stalk will be set up for zone 3. The soaker hose is mostly wound through. I think I only have this top level left, and I ran out before I could finish it. The zone 3 line goes through underneath these stairs, just like zone 2. And then I have it cut underneath this whole deck area over here to reach this other side. This big bed, the U bed, is kind of the main one for zone 3. So the irrigation line runs up through here, and I have it split down both sides of here, one here and then one over there, and then it comes around here and then up this side. So this is the one that I had switched to these little circle irrigators last year, and it worked out really well. So I have 2 here, and then over here in the corner I have a 90-degree sprayer. It takes care of basically right in this area and then all through here. In here I have a 180-degree sprayer here, but if I take a look at it, it actually looks like it's broken. So when we turn this on, this is probably not going to work. This here, I have a full circle, so that's basically going to cover this whole area of the bed. And then over here on the side, I have another 180-degree sprayer. This green stalk is also going to be connected to zone 3. Because I had this last year, I just had it set up along the side of the house instead of over here on the deck. I have the tubing all ready to go, I just haven't connected it yet. So I forgot about this. This green stalk, I've been kind of debating on whether I want it to be zone 3 or 2, but I think I'm going to connect it to 2 because I'm going to have to run a line either from over here to here or from over there to here. And I just think that it's going to be less in the way if I run it from here to here. That way it's less likely that anybody trips on it or the dogs pull it out or damage it in some way. So that's a walkthrough of the irrigation system. Let's go ahead and turn it on and see what we're contending with here. So here with this green stalk, you can see the water has pushed all the way to the top, so that's good. To this other green stalk, the water has also pushed all the way to the top. I don't see any leaks for either of them, so both of those look good. This sprayer is most definitely in the wrong position, otherwise it seems to be working well. So that all looks good. So sprayer number 2 is most definitely in the wrong position, but it also looks to be working just fine. All of these seem to be working well. They probably need to be toned down a little bit. If I keep them anyway, they should be toned down. And then the circle sprayer, you can see how well it's covering that whole area. I don't see any leaks or anything, so zone number 1 looks good. So I just turned on zone number 2, and obviously that's a big problem we gotta fix. This is also a problem we have to fix. That looks like it just needs to be plugged. That was probably where the other green stock line was, and it just didn't get plugged. Because of those leaks, these aren't really doing much. This bottom layer is actually connected to the irrigation line, and you see it's kind of dripping, but it's probably not getting the pressure that it should be. This also, since it's connected, it is getting some, but not a lot. So this is probably going to have to be addressed. This shouldn't quite be dripping like that. So this connection is probably not very tight. And this right here is also a problem. So this end is obviously not plugged, so it's just running off like a hose. So I need to fix that too. So great news for zone 1, not so great for zone 2. Looks like we have a lot of work for zone 2 to do. All right, zone 3. So it looks like this one that I talked about that was going to go to the 9x3 bed, that's actually on zone 3. So that one, even though it looks funny because it's just sitting in the dirt, it looks to be working just fine. Since I don't have the green stalks hooked up, we can't really see if it's working, how it's doing there. But here we have the 180, that's working fine. We have the full circle 360, that seems to be working fine. This is the one I said probably isn't going to work, and it's very clear that that is not what it's supposed to be doing. So this one definitely needs to be replaced. This one over here seems to be working just fine. And then for these circle ones, that one is working well. I think this one probably needs to be moved a little. And you can broaden the spray or turn it down, whatever you need. And then this should not be open, so I'm gonna close that. Turn that one off. And it gives a little bit more pressure to the rest of the system, since it has one less area that the water is pushing out of. So zone 3 has a few issues. Really just that one over there. Otherwise, zone 3 is looking good. It's always good to run your irrigation and check it out before you actually start relying on it. I know that zone 1 is ready to go. I can leave it and I don't have to worry. Zone 2 has quite a few issues that we have to get taken care of to get it running smoothly. And zone 3 just has one with a few more things to hook up, and it'll be ready to go too. I really love having an irrigation system because it really makes leaving so much easier. Last year was the first year that I actually did an irrigation system, and I was so glad that I did. It's even nice on days when you're working and you come home and all you want to do is just relax. You don't want to worry about spending a half an hour or 45 minutes or sometimes even more, depending on how big your garden is, to water it. So it was really a lifesaver, and I loved having it. So I want to make sure that I have everything set up this year too. That way I have peace of mind that everything is going to get watered, whether I'm busy or if I forget or if I just want to relax. Whatever it is, I know that my plants are going to get taken care of. So thank you so much for joining me today while I test out the system and see what work needs to be done to make it fully functional. If you have any suggestions to make it even more efficient, I'm happy to hear what you have to say. Please make a comment and let me know. So irrigation is something I'm new to, so I'm still kind of figuring out what I love and what I don't love, and what works really well and what really doesn't. I will definitely update with how I make the changes and how I do the fixes for the system. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I appreciate you so much taking the time out to spend with me, and I hope to see you next time.